All right, musicians, here we are in our first day in our virtual classroom. We're going to talk about today what you need for the next few weeks of class. You're going to need a Kidstix set. Most of our class today is going to be you finding your Kidstix set. Now you're probably thinking, Miss Faust, I don't have these items at home. I'm going to help you find them. Don't worry. I'm going to give you some great ideas of what you can use and make sure to give you some tips about what to use and what not to use, okay? So first things first. Our Kidstix set consists of 4 pieces. A tambourine, a can, this is a pair of drumsticks, and a beat board, which is kind of like our snare drum, okay? So, 4 pieces, and you're probably thinking, Miss Faust, that's great, but I don't have drumsticks, I don't have a tambourine, what do I do? Let's answer that question right now, okay? In just a moment, I'm going to talk through each piece and give you some ideas of what you can use instead, okay? Let's talk about each piece really quick so you know what it is. I'm going to take these away and just walk through the setup and each piece of the Kidstix set really quickly. First, we have our cutting board. What we know is our beat board, okay? And that is closest to us. Now, the second piece is our sticks. These are our actual drumsticks, and we put those right above the beat board. Now, this is the setup we had at the very beginning of the year and what we used from the very beginning of the year until we added our can, okay? Then we have the can, and the can goes to our left above the drumsticks. Now, I'm not sure what it looks like on the screen to you, if it's going to be on your right or your left, I'm not sure, but just make sure you know that it is on your left. Okay, so the can is to your left. All right, next we have the tambourine, and the tambourine goes above the drumsticks to your right. In just a few minutes, I'm going to show you a picture of what this looks like from the top, and all our lessons will be done from the top so that you can see what I'm playing on and how I'm playing them. You'll see the setup. It'll make it really easy for you to set it up in front of you, okay? So, Miss Faust, I don't have these items. What can I do? Well, let's start with the easiest one, a beat board. Your beat board, this is a cutting board that I got at the Dollar Tree. The beat boards can be a cutting board you have at home. If that's what you use, that's fantastic, but make sure you ask permission first. All of these items we're about to show you, you need to make sure you ask an adult in your household if you can use them, and make sure you tell them you're going to beat on it with something, okay? So they don't give you something, you know, your grandma doesn't say, sure, you can use my favorite cutting board, and then you're drumming on it and get in trouble. That's not what we want. Make sure you're very clear. I'm going to beat on this with something, okay? You can use a cutting board. You can use lots of other items. We'll go through some stuff in just a minute. I'm going to take all of this off, and we're going to start, and I'm going to show you what I found when I went through my house and was looking for items to use. This is something you probably might have, even if it's not this size. Perhaps you have a smaller size. I'll come back to these in just a minute, okay? Perhaps you have one that's this size, okay? I have several of these in my pantry. Or maybe you have, let me find it, a little tiny one, okay? Or maybe you have the normal size can. If you're going to use a can, I need you to ask an adult for help, okay? If you're using the can and it's full, and your parent says that it's okay to use it, that's fine. They don't need to help you anymore. If you're going to use a can that is empty, I need your adults in your household to follow these important steps. Number 1, adults, you're going to need to clean out the inside of the can. So run water in it and then clean it out well and dry it. If you leave the water in it, it will rust. And you don't want your kid playing with something that's going to have a bunch of rust in it. So make sure it's clean and it's dry. All right, we don't want bugs getting into people's houses, and we don't want lead, or not lead, but we don't want rust in there either. Secondly, you're going to want to take duct tape or some kind of thick tape and tape over the edges of the can. That way there's no sharp edges that are going to scrape the kids as they're picking them up and moving them. The ones at school, I brought all of those home. I buffed the edges so they're all smooth and they're not sharp anymore. And then I put 3 layers of duct tape on there to keep their hands protected and safe as we're playing. So I would suggest a couple layers of duct tape at least. And then if you have the capability of sanding them down, you may want to do that if you're going to use this long term. On the top, I put a piece of foam, but you can very easily use a cloth to put over it so it's not so loud. You don't want that high-pitched ringing of the metal sound. You want a dampered sound, and either a piece of foam or a towel. You can lay a towel over it. That will work just fine. Okay? All right, parents, I think that's all that you have to do for this. Just make sure your kid asks you for permission to use stuff so that they don't get in trouble, okay? Because we don't want anything that's going to break or be damaged permanently that is not okay, all right? So that's talking about cans. You can use a can for different pieces. You could use it for this part or where the tambourine is. Either one of those is perfectly fine. Now let's say you don't have a can, or your adults in your household don't want you using a can, and that's okay. I have nothing, but Miss Faust, I have this piece of paper here, and it's a nice big piece that I got out of the recycling bin. Fantastic. I'm going to tear it into a couple different parts. 1, 2, 3. This piece is going to be my beat board. I can even write on there, beat board. Boom. This one is going to be my can, right there on my left side. This one is going to be my tambourine. Put it right there on my right side. I can write on there, beat board, can, tambourine. And I can use my hands as my drumsticks. Now, when I was growing up, when I was in high school, and when I was learning to play the drum set, this is exactly what I did. I sat on my floor in my room because we didn't own a drum set, and I made a drum set out of paper and put it in front of me. And I did have a pair of drumsticks, but when I played with them, it busted the paper. And I got tired of rebuilding it, so I finally just used my hands. And I used that, and I learned just as well doing that as if I'd actually had a drum set in front of me. This is a perfect way to do it, okay? It's cheap, it's simple, you don't have to go to the store and buy anything. It's probably in your house already. 1, 2, 3 pieces of paper and my hands. Easy peasy. Kidstix set. It's easy to find. I can't get easier than that, okay? All right, next. I was out of my garage and I found this random piece of wood. So I'm going to go to my parents. I'm going to say, hey, can I use this as a beat board? Yes, absolutely you can. You can drum on it. You can beat it up. No problem. It's just trash anyway. Great. I'm reusing it. I'm finding another means to use this piece of wood that's going to get trashed. Okay? Excellent. Wonderful. Let's see what else we found. Oh yes, I love this because this is usually in most people's house as well, and that's washcloths or some kind of towel. You can take it, you can fold it. There's my can. Here's my tambourine. I have a beat board, I have a towel, I have a tambourine. Done. What about sticks? You really, really want a pair of sticks and you don't just want to use your hands. These are amazing. If your parents have these and they don't mind, you can ask your mom, dad, grandma, aunt, whoever is in your household, say, hey, can I use a couple of the utensils, like the large utensils? You could even use spoons. That would be fine. They're going to be kind of loud if you're hitting stuff, but that's okay. And use them to drum with. Make sure you ask first, okay? You can tell this wood block is a lot louder than those. So these may be a great option for you. That's the towels, okay? You can use 3 towels, fine. No issue there whatsoever. This is more about you moving your hands and learning the rhythms of the music than actually playing it on an actual Kidstix set. All right, you don't have these laying around at home, but you might have pencils or pens. Just ask first. I know in class I always say don't beat with your pencils. These are extenuating circumstances, and if you want to have a pair of pencils that you use to drum with, I'm okay with that right now. Don't do it in class because it'll drive me crazy, it'll drive your teachers crazy, it breaks the lead in your pencils, and it's a really big pet peeve of mine, but in this instance, it's okay if you need to use pencils. These are pens, but you know, pencils, pens, as long as it's okay. Pens might actually not be a great idea because if you hit it on a can, it could bust and throw some ink out at you, and you don't want that. So just a couple of other ideas really quickly. A box, can you imagine what you could use this for? It could be a beat board, it could be a can, it could be your tambourine, any of those pieces it could be, no issue. And if you had a couple of buckets out in your garage that your parents didn't mind if you hit on, you can go get 3 buckets, put them in front of you in those spots. Or if you don't have 3, you could use, one here and something there. Just be creative. When you're done finding your items, I would love it if you would get in the discussion section and just send me a message, and that's actually going to be your assignment for this week. Send me a message and tell me what you decided to use. What found objects around your house did you use to be your beat board, the can, your tambourine, and your drumsticks? So that's your assignment for this week. Easy week. I will put on here a rhythm exercise for you to do so that you can start using these items, but that is your assignment for the week. Find your Kidstix set and tell me what you made it out of, okay? All right, I will see you next week. Have a great week and be creative with it. Have some fun.